at the mean for grouped data. Okay, so here is our info. Mu stands for a population, right? And this one stands for sample. Oh, geez, I almost forgot there. This is a sample, so x bar. We have the sum of the frequency times our m value, which is the number, whatever the thing it is, or the midpoint, sorry, is what we're measuring. All divided by our frequency. And the same idea here. Frequency times the midpoint of the range of data divided by the sum of the frequency. So, got a whole bunch of data here. We have salary ranges, and we have the number of employees. The number of employees is already our frequency. They've told us that. So I'm going to call this the F value. Okay. The next thing we do is we need our midpoint value. So we're actually going to calculate that on the side here. And the midpoint value needs to be, we'll call it our M. The midpoint value is within our range. And essentially, it's the average between the start and the beginning. Now, we have some pretty simple values. Normally, what you would do is you'd add the lowest and the highest together. So 20 plus 30. That's going to give 50, and we divide by 2. So 50 divided by 2 is 25. And we could probably figure that out by looking at it. So we'll quickly set them up. If this is 25, then it means the next one will be 35, 45. That would be the practice if it was numbers we couldn't do in our head, but these are relatively simple, so let's just set up our midpoints quickly. 95. Great. Okay. Now, this is very similar to, technically, to a weighted average. And now, ours is a sample, so we use x bar, okay, because this is a sample of data. The sum of our number of our frequency times our midpoint, all divided by our sum of the frequency. Okay, this also means we take the first frequency times it by the first midpoint plus the second frequency times the second midpoint and all the way to the last value, whatever that frequency is. They call it usually n, the last number, and the last midpoint value. And that's all divided by the very same idea here, first frequency plus second frequency plus all the way to the last frequency. Okay, usually there's a plus here. So we can set it up like this if we're used to doing weighted. Another way they sometimes do that is they actually set up a column here, so it's very simple to look at, and the column would be just our frequency times our midpoint. And that column helps us essentially get the numerator, and then the denominator is really simple to set up too. So I'll do it via chart first, and then we'll go into doing it that way. Okay, so we'll quickly go across here, and we'll probably need a calculator. So if you want to get a calculator handy, I'll do these in green. This should be 312 by 25, but just double check for me.
12 times 25?
Yeah, so we're doing the frequency, that's our F,
yeah,
times our midpoint, 25. So that should be 300. And then already I'm not going to be adept enough to do the next one. So 24. Oops. What did you get for this? 840, beautiful. Let's let you do them. Okay, 840. What's the next one?
1,440.
1,440. Okay.
1,000. Well, yeah, 1,045.
1,045, like that. Okay.
585.
585. This one should be 225?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one is 0, and the last one's 95. Great. So now that we've done that, okay, those are essentially all of our values. And what we have to do is find the sum. So now that we've done that, we can essentially add these all together and get a sum, and that will be our top value. Along with that, so I'll write this as this is called the sum of Fi, okay? And this one here is the sum of the frequency. That's what just all these numbers together would be. So this would be 10, 13, 25. If we had that, I'm going to lose track of what I'm doing. So this is what we'll do. You're going to add up all of the frequencies, and I'll add up the frequency times the midpoint, and that way we've streamlined this information. Okay, I got 4530.
I got 100.
And you got 100? Oh, that's nice and easy. You got 100 for frequency. Excellent. Okay, so let's scroll down here. So what that means is now that we have our values, our x bar is equal to the 4,530. Hopefully I did that right. Divided by our 100. That should be in red. And luckily, that's just going to be 45.3. Should be our x bar. So in other words, and this is probably in thousands, the salary range. It's probably not $20 and $30. It's probably $20,000 and $30,000. So the average salary would be, if it's in thousands, we would technically multiply this by 1,000 after, find out the true value, and it would be $45,300. Yeah, $45,300 would be the average grouped mean of all of this data. The way it would have looked like here would have been essentially us writing in these values times each other. And it would have been very long and tedious. We can do it. Otherwise, we're technically done, but you can stick around if you want to watch this part. Our x bar, our first frequency. So again, I'm going to need to elongate the page. This might be hard for me to write. But our first frequency was the number 12, and it needs to be multiplied by 25. Okay. Plus our second frequency, which is 24 times 35. And you can see how this become very tedious, right? 32 times 45, etc. And then on the bottom, we would add up all of our frequencies. Oh my, that's okay. And our frequencies were the first numbers, so you have 12 plus 24 plus 32, etc. And we would have ended up at the exact same values, 4530 divided by 100. So this is just kind of a way to keep it organized, or you could write it that way. Just sometimes if there's so much data like we have here, this equation can be very difficult to follow.